What was David's feeling in the midst of desperate experiences in his life? Here's how he described it in Psalm 62 3 and 4. How long all of you attack a man to batter him? Like a leaning wall, a tottering fence. They only plan to thrust him down from his high position. They take pleasure in falsehood. They bless with their mouths, but inwardly they curse. David didn't seem to be feeling like faith was growing stronger. He was feeling weak and vulnerable and fragile. He felt like an old stone wall, bowing out and ready to crumble. He felt like a rickety old fence that could easily topple over. This is how we often feel when we are learning to make God our only trust. Tests of our faith often feel in the moment like threats to our faith. Whatever form of adversity we are experiencing, it feels overwhelming. We too feel weak, vulnerable, and fragile, like we are going to topple over and crumble. We might feel tempted to panic. So, what do we do? David shows us by putting on a clinic in Psalm 62 and prescribes the medication needed. He preaches to his troubled, weak, vulnerable, fragile soul. For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence, for my hope is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, I shall not be shaken. On God rests my salvation and my glory, my mighty rock, my refuge is God. David is telling his soul to remember the source of his hope, God. More precisely, what God had promised him. It's true that David's experience was unique in that God had made specific promises to him, such as becoming Israel's king, 1 Samuel 16:13, and receiving a throne that would be established forever through his progeny, 2 Samuel 7:12 to 17. But for all the saints, hope in God is grounded on the promises of God. The promises of God, His word to us, is the fortress we flee to when we are afraid. That's why David says, it is in this way, when I'm afraid, I put my trust in you. Psalm 56, verse 3. David took refuge not only in the promises of God made specifically to him, he took refuge in the entire revealed word of God that had been provided up to that point. That's why in Psalm 19, David spoke of every word of God's special revelation as having power to revive the soul, rejoice the heart, enlighten the eyes, and reward those who keep them. Psalm 19, 7 to 11. So, New Covenant believers, we find the same to be true. Yes, sometimes the Spirit will illumine a particular promise for us during a difficult season to help us endure. But the great truth is that all the promises of God find that yes in Jesus. 2 Corinthians 1:20. All God's promises are places of refuge, fortress where we may flee when we feel weak, vulnerable and fragile, such as Hebrews 13:5, which says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Peace I live with you, my people I give to you, not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let them be afraid. John 14:27. In the desperate season when something or someone is threatening your hope and you feel on the verge of collapse, you must turn from looking at the threat. Instead, look to the source of your hope. Say with David, on God rests my salvation and my glory, my mighty rock, my refuge is God. Psalm 62, verse 7. Be blessed.